there is no Samsung White this year. There's no team that you watch their play and you say, this team is so far ahead above the rest.
지금 중국뿐만 아니라 다른 팀들이 모두 다 잘하기 때문에 지금 여기서는 유럽 팀들도 쟁쟁하고
The trend continues. These guys are legit, man. What a start to Worlds from Origin.
Flash Wolves beating Coup.
Coup Tigers too far behind. Can't do anything. What is up with the upsets?
북미도 쟁쟁하고
On C9 completes the ace, and they complete the 2-0 already at Worlds.
World's domination, how's that going?
Or 2-0.
Guys, it's bonkers over here in Paris.
AHQ takes down Fnatic.
AHQ bounce back and make this group really interesting.
Anything can happen.
And Soaz extinguishes the ghost of his past.
Support on combat! Oh! 3-0 start to the World Championship. SKT, undaunted, take down Edward Gaming.
Bonjour et bienvenue to the conclusion of Week 1 of the 2015 League of Legends World Championships. You're getting a glimpse inside Le Doc Pullman in Paris, France, where the crowd is very pumped up for our final day of Week 1. Fans are streaming in, getting to their seats for another day of action. Of course, KT dialing in before they fight OG for the #1 spot in their group, and AHQ looking to keep the momentum up after yesterday's comeback win over Fnatic. Hello everyone, I'm James Dash Patterson here, continuing our coverage of Worlds 2015 alongside Jacob, Yamato Cannon Mebdi, Christopher Monte Cristo Michaels, and of course the jungler for the NALCS, NCAA is what I was about to say, NALCS jungler, oh my goodness, Alberto Crumbs Rengifo. Welcome back to day 4 of the group stage, gentlemen.
Thank you very much.
It's great. All right, well, to start the day off, let's take a look at the standings. CLG is still on top of Group A after their day off yesterday. We'll see what they can do with some rest later on. Cloud9 is alone on top of Group B, while Fnatic and AHQ are tied for the #2 spot. SKT led Group C after beating Edward Gaming yesterday. And in Group D, KT, Rolster, and Europe's Origin are tied, at least until our second game of the day. And I don't know about you, gentlemen, but my pick'em is in shambles.
My pick'em is a giant dumpster inferno right now.
That's the
best metaphor I can give for you.
Can we decipher what has happened? You know, Group C has gone relatively as expected with SKT and EDG at the top. But as soon as we move on to Group B, that's where things get all kinds of crazy. We had C9 at the top of it right now with a win over IG. We start with that. We'll start with that game.
I mean, you know what IG reminds me of? It's one of those cars that you see on the street that just got out of an accident, but instead of replacing one of their tires with a real tire, they put one of those Vespa motorcycle tires on it. And it's just trucking along, and that tire is kidding kiddies. I mean, these guys got to get it together because they're holding everyone back. You need to create a strategy around your strength and not on your weakness.
I have to say as well, like, IG, as well as the other Chinese teams, it's quite obvious that they've only scrimmed each other because there's obvious, like, pick and ban flaws. They've been blind picking Echo, blind picking Hacker, and blind picking Malphite, which is strange to me.
And then real quick, the AHQ with that comeback win over Fnatic. A lot of people weren't expecting that, thinking Fnatic would be the #1 seed out of the group. Now they're fighting for the #2 spot.
Well, the first game by HQ, I don't think was a particularly good indicator. We expected them to be stronger. They came in, showed a lot of weakness with that Rengar jungle and those wacky picks, but they pulled it together and showed that they could be the team we expect them to be. Now, the big question, of course, is LGD. Can they pull it together and show us why they're China's #1 seed? Because we know they're better than this. We can talk about IG. I hate to tell you, Crumbs, Kid and Kitties have never been good, so I don't really have a lot of hope there. But we know that LGD can be a much better team.
So you're claiming they were never a new car. If we move on to Group D, Origin is joining KT on the top, while LGD and TSM are still looking for their first win. We'll start off with the OG TSM game, NA versus EU.
I think Origin versus KT is really probably the best game of the day. Both of these teams have been spectacular. Their drafts have been very intelligent, and their play, all 10 players have really stepped up to the plate, and it's just exciting to watch these guys. There's no one player that you could say, yeah, you know what, that guy's kind of not as good as the rest of his team. They're all playing in unison, and that's why they're both 2-0.
Yeah, and to your point, Monty, yesterday, TSM looking lost around the Rift with as simple as an Anivia pick coming through, not understanding how to play around it.
TSM is just a very transparent team in the draft. I think that's their biggest problem, is that Origin did a lot of research. Crumbs was just talking about their great pick and ban phase. They bait out this Darius pick, then they play a kite composition. TSM is known as a team that really statistically does not very much before 20 minutes, so it was easy for the Anivia to scale. And then when it came to fighting around those dragons, there was basically compositionally very few ways that TSM could realistically win those team fights with the champions they selected. And I don't know how deep TSM's champion pools run. If I had to guess, not very deep, and they're probably not going to do very well in this group.
Yamato, let's move on to the second matchup from yesterday, KT versus LGD. LGD falling another game behind KT with another very solid game here, showing why they deserve to be at the top of this group.
I feel once again, draft mistakes. I feel like KT completely outdrafted LGD. The blind pick Hecarim, the Varus, I think it got completely countered by the Malphite, and Malphite is in a good matchup against the Hecarim. He can completely just stack armor. It was just a really good draft from KT.
Well, one thing we know for sure, either TSM or LGD will pick up a win before the week is up, because they have to play in the first game of the day. Then, of course, KT goes up against Origin for dominance in Group D, and later on, it's another NA versus EU showdown between Cloud9 and Fnatic. And, of course, as today's action unfolds, we want to hear what you think. Tweet at LOL Esports and tell us what has surprised you the most in the world's group stage so far and why. And, gentlemen, I'm going to turn to you for this one, because there's been quite a few surprises.
Like, I could begin. Like, the biggest surprise to me is Cloud9. Like, the fact that they've continued the growth they've had throughout the previous split has impressed me a lot, and they've, like, continued to improve. Like, I don't think the Cloud9 we've seen at Worlds is not the same one we've seen at Gauntlet.
Monty, how about you?
It's hard to say. There's so many surprises, right? I have to go with LGD. This is a team that finished so strongly. Sure, we had seen them be a little hit or miss during the regular season, but I thought after their playoff performance that they had really geared up and were going to be coming in strong. But even that really MVP of the playoffs performance by Imp hasn't translated over. He did well in his first game, okay in his second game, but beyond that, it's been incredibly underwhelming. So we need to see more from LGD.
Crumbs, finish us off.
To me, the biggest surprise is the preparation that these teams are coming from, because they have such intelligent drafts catered to specific teams, so they know a lot of how the group is going to play out. And the biggest example is KT and Origin. That group, these two guys are coming in so prepared with their drafts, knowing what the other guys play and building around that, building compositions that counter what they're going to do and playing against it with crazy baits, and really having very patient games in which they wait for your opponent to outplay themselves. Take one mistake, game's over. That's perfect league, to be honest, just waiting for that time.
Well, those are some of the surprises we've seen. Be sure to tweet your responses to @LOL Esports, and be sure to include the hashtag Worlds so we can talk over a few of your answers on the desk later today. And before we send it over to our casters to get the games underway, I got to put you guys on the spot. Game one here to close out the week, TSM versus LGD. Who are you guys going with?
I have to say LGD. Like, I think the mismatch in the jungle, like TBQ has been a big issue for LGD, and I feel like Santorin hasn't really shown up in a long time, and I feel that's where it's going to, like, show.
Yeah, I have to agree. I'm taking LGD here. The spot that can be struck at by TSM will not be struck at, and that's TBQ. And then pound for pound, they just hit harder in the lanes. And Bjergsen, I don't think, is going to have such an easy time in this game.
And finally, Crumbs?
You know, this game, there's a lot on the line because the other two counterparts to the group are both 2-0. So a loss here and going 0-3 is almost certainly guaranteeing one of these teams to not make it out of groups. So I think both of these teams have to revert back to a very safe style. So it's probably going to be a slow game. But in the end, I'm siding with LGD because I feel like TSM is trying to be the cool kids and play the draft that everybody else is doing that doesn't fit their style. They can't play these comps. The entire LCS season, they won playing super slow, late game composition that scale just horrendously, very well. I mean, terrifically into the late game.
The exact opposite, in fact.
Scale terrifically into the late game, like AP Cog and stuff like that. And sure, maybe it won't work here, but you've got nothing to lose practically. Play back to that style. They're not doing it. Just stop trying to copy what others are doing and really just go with your strength. LGD for me.
Both teams looking for a win. We'll see who comes away with it. Well, without further ado, let's step inside LeDoc Pullman for Game 1 after GodV shares his impressions of TSM's Great Dane in the mid lane.
因为我看他的比赛比较少，但以我对他的印象来说的话，他是一个对线能力很强的人，然后队伍也很愿意就是依赖他，然后依靠他来 carry， 就是他给你的压力感一定会很强，但是这样子队伍不一定能赢。
And Bjergsen's going to need to carry real hard to help TSM for the rest of the group stage. I'm QuickShot, joined here with Jat and Pastry Time as we cover the opening games on the last day of the first week of groups. It's North America's team SoloMid taking on the #1 seed from China's LPL. It's LGD Gaming. And what a start, 0-2 for the #1 team from China.
Not expected.
I think with the correlation of the tweet today, that is my biggest surprise of groups.
And for me, it's just been a total three-way collapse of the top half of the map from LGD that's really got them into strife. TBQ has been heavily targeted and picked on in the bans and on the Rift. Acorn, when he's playing low econ or carry, just can't seem to really put everything together. And unfortunately, to top it all off, GodV, he's not playing hard carries to kind of make up for the deficit with Acorn and TBQ not playing too well. And that leaves Imp and POA on the bottom lane with way too much heavy lifting to do.
Yeah, it really is. Yesterday on that server, like so much difficulties against Arrow's Cogmore. Team SoloMid, they're once again tripping on the international stage. Jet is like MSI all over again.
Yeah, except this time it's not a surprise that they're losing any of their games for many because it was expected coming in and they've been floundering. The interesting thing is that their early games have actually been non-disastrous. Bjergsen had an amazing laning phase against Myongne, and a lot of the other has been doing that as well, but they are unable to keep those modest leads due to their complete lack of team cohesion. And all season, we have heard from TSM that they are trying to diversify from that one strategy, which is centered around Bjergsen, and that they have communication issues that they're fixing. But the most damning thing is their self-identified issues are almost worse here, so it doesn't look good for TSM.
It really doesn't. If there were a time to try turn around, it would have to be this game. Guys, the teams there are busy getting ready for picks and bans. Let's take a look at the lineups. On the blue side, it is North America's team SoloMid. Dyrus in the top lane, Santorin in the jungle, Bjergsen, the big Dane in the mid lane, with Wild Turtle, the AD carry, and of course his support, Lust Boy. Loco Doco behind the team as the coach.
Gonna have to do better in picks and bans today, as will the team on the red side, LGD Gaming. We have over here with Acorn in the top lane. TBQ in the jungle, he has been punished heavily thus far. GodV in the mid lane, see if he can pick a hard carry champion. Imp on AD carry. And PYL, his support friend, with Firefox behind them.
A lot of love for Imp in the audience. We're about to get into picks and bans. Dyrus on Darius, not a great performance, but he was also left out to dry by his team. And looking at the other side, LGD with some questionable decisions, maybe, picks and bans. You know, Pastry, do you want to talk to us maybe some of the historical picks and ban strategies that we've been seeing from LGD versus now at Worlds?
Absolutely, and LGD are a team that certainly late in the season started drafting very well when they won in summer. So to see them here at Worlds, you can just tell with the picks they're going with, stuff like TBQ's Vi after he's getting banned out, even Heckroom for Acorn, which is sort of uncommon, despite the fact that we saw Huni play it on day one. These are just outdated picks for LGD. They're clearly going back to what's comfortable and what works for them, but this is not going to work on this meta.
Well, here's the thing about this draft is, Monty even mentioned on the analyst desk, TSM's drafts are very transparent. So if you're going to be able to outdraft anyone, these have been the two weakest drafting teams in this group so far. We'll see if one of them can actually get an edge here in the draft phase.
It poses an interesting question. If both teams are having questionable drafts, who can do the least damage in picks and bans?
I mean, it generally means that they're not going to be punished as hard, and both teams will end up getting compositions that they are comfortable with that hopefully won't be countered for both of these guys.
But we're seeing again, Lee Sin and Rek'Sai. Again, TBQ's champion pool has been hit. That's the third time we've seen both of those champions removed. So the entire group recognizing TBQ just not as comfortable in the champions. He's tried Elise, he's tried Vi.
And yeah, the issue is that apart from that, there's not really much else. He has played a bit of Vi. It was a popular champion for him. At least he can sort of play. Even Rengar's sort of in the big backlog of champions. But again, on this metagame, on this patch, these are not champions that you can, I think, pick easily and expect to win with a lot of the time.
Yeah, I actually really like the Team SoloMid bans. They are targeted specifically at the strength or weakness of LGD. Strength in the fact that they're banning the Kog'Maw away from Imp, and weakness in the fact that they're banning away TBQ's 2 best champions.
So Mordekaiser or Lulu, what will the final ban be from LGD? That is the question.
I would think it would be Mordekaiser. There was a game where he completely slipped through the ban phase. That was yesterday with LGD versus KT. So now at least they have both. And this is actually where it gets a little bit dangerous. If you're going to pick one of the two, I think you pick Lulu.
I think so too.
However, because as a Juggernaut, it's much like when you pick Darius into Lulu, you can still kite him around. He doesn't have an ability to close distance.
Oh!
TSM disagreed,
They did the same thing yesterday, Quick Shot. They picked the Darius with the Lulu up and they ended up getting kited. However, this is at least kind of exciting.
Yeah, Mordekaiser back on the roof for one more game here. Like you mentioned, it's only one game that he's slipped through completely. Does have one win and a whole host of bans apart from that. I have to say, Jungle Champion's still not sure what they're going to play. TBQ can also go to Gragas. That's one other champion he's played to reasonable success. But whatever it is, I have to think LGD are going to pick a jungle right now.
This is throwing a big wrench in the draft phase. I have to imagine TSM was expecting a Mordekaiser ban. However, the one team who didn't ban Mordekaiser, of course, was LGD. So that leaves a lot of stuff free. This would be the logical choices for LGD. 80 carries in particular, I actually think are even stronger against Juggernauts in particular because they are the ones that will be kiting them. And because of the Lulu, the Kalista generally can't be bursted as hard by Mord in teamfights. And I think that's some really strong counter picks up against the early Mordekaiser.
Yeah, and just regionally, Imp's Kalista is probably the best in the LPL. Certainly one of the best here at Worlds. He got that champion banned against him so many times in the LPL, even though Kalista's sort of fallen out of favor. So a smart pick here from LGD.
So Gragas locked in, another jungle champion denied from TBQ. It's going to leave LGD a couple of different options, but all of them going down that tier list. Chat, we talked extensively about jungle champions and what we're expecting to see. You think it's going to be the Vi again, or is the Nunu Hover likely?
It depends how much faith they want to put in TBQ. If they want to put him on an easier champion that can execute around LGD's strengths, we haven't seen Nunu yet at Worlds, or even for a very long time in competitive, but it would fit this specific use case. One snowball on Mordekaiser, he's not hitting anyone with that third Q.
I think the other thing as well is that if they go with this, it's very Imp-centric, this team. Can't we talk?
They actually did it!
All right.
They actually did Brand. This has been a champion that has been hovered frequently. A lot of people have been playing it in solo queue, and it's probably mid as well.
Yeah.
When was the last time we saw Brand mid? Was it Season 1 World Championship? It's going way back.
Back to Brand and Malzahar days.
Oh my.
They were
It could also be Brand support. Brand support is actually the stronger version of Brand in most scenarios.
In this team composition, you'd maybe assume that with an Acorn counter pick, depending on what Dyrus wants to run.
Brand.
I mean, you don't even know at this stage, but the Nunu was also locked in. Just as a side note, in both of TSM's previous games, Twisted Fate was in fact banned against Bjergsen, and you can see the hover, so he's toying with that idea.
Certainly is.
Sorry, I didn't hear a word you said.
There's still Brand happening?
Yeah, I was trying to figure out if Brand was going mid or support. I mean, the support actually makes more sense, I think, because Brand won't be punished as much for positioning since Kalista can use the Fate's Call. TSM is going all in on these Juggernauts, so they will be so heavily kited unless they get really clean initiation.
And what do we talk about? Bjergsen, the shining light really for TSM. He has to do so much work in these games to get the side lanes ahead here. He's got Twisted Fate. He's expected to make an impact on the champion, and he's certainly going to have to.
Yeah, the Twisted Fate has been banned heavily against Bjergsen as well, so really
If there was ever a time,
Brand.
If there was ever a time for Bjergsen to step up on a champion, Twisted Fate is now. But yeah, Brand's going to be fun, and it looks like it might actually be support.
And I want so much to see GodV play Teleport Diana. He was the one who really popularized this pick, and everyone wanted to play Teleport Diana like GodV. There it is.
There you go, you're going to get your wish. Diana has been locked in. That does mean it's Brand support for PYL. PYL does like to mess around sometimes, but this is a big step.
Yeah, aside from the Brand, this is a very common LGD composition, right? When they pick the Lulu, you don't actually expect Godfrey to play it. You would have expected it to play in the top lane for Acorn, which was why it was so weird when they played Lulu mid on the first day of group stages that they played. Of course, the support brand is just a whole bunch of AoE damage in this. The amount of damage the brand puts out on support is basically mid lane tier, even with support items. That's why he's so effective.
And I guess it helps when you've got a melee AD carry role to throw those Seers out at. As a note, this is game 19 of the group stages, and with Diana and Twisted Fate locked in, 19 unique mid-lane champions. Somewhere, champion diversity celebrates, because we are continuing to see these exquisite champs. Now, lane swaps, is this going to be a thing? I cannot imagine Mord and Thresh really want to lane into Kalista Brand.
I think it's a pretty big factor in here. One of the major reasons Mordekaiser is strong is because of the mismatch you get on the opposing lane, and when you're level 6, you can force a turret dive, which then snowballs into a dragon. So if LGD can somehow deny the lane swap and actually negate that inherent experience advantage that Mordekaiser grants, that's one way to try and work around it.
We'll have to see what they decide to do. Those team compositions will be flashing on your screen in just a moment. Guys, at home, jump onto Twitter. Let us know who's going to pick up their first victory here. Both TSM and LGD 0-2 in the World Championships. Hashtag TSM win or hashtag LGD win. Who will be getting that W? Will it be support brand? Or will it be ADC Mord?
So I actually just received words from our stats guy that Brand mid was played by Dade in the LPL in a game that had no consequences. So technically, it has been played recently, but not in any stage with how much is online. These are both 0-2 teams. The win is an absolute must.
And we are loading onto the riff for game 1 in day 4. Let's take a look how this cookie crumbles. Both solo laners for TSM and LGD are running Flash Teleport. So continuing to see that TP mid meta, if we can go that far, really establishing.
Yeah, this Worlds has been so much about global pressure and specifically just capitalizing on any misposition or misplay by any individual. When you have double teleport, it means you can just really find the position on the map where the mistake is being made and punish it even harder.
I feel like the other thing there as well is that we talked a lot about these teams having strong individual players, but maybe not the best cohesion in the first few games we've seen. So double teleport is very team-oriented. So I want to see if these teams can really line it up and make the clutch plays with the summoner spell.
I did see a slightly deep ward coming from PYL towards the red buff. We will have spotted Wild Turtle just a moment ago, but no lane swap deep vision that we've become relatively accustomed to. Safe enough starts, and it looks like it's going to be standard lanes, at least according to the current duo setup.
Yep, I'm really interested to watch this Brand versus Mordekaiser lane and how heavily the Brand can punish the Mord from farming. Because in standard 2v2s that teams have been scrimming with against Mordekaiser, he seems to crush. They do the one camp early, they hit level 2 first, and then they never relent their advantage. That means they're level 6 by the time the enemy bot lane is level 4. That means they rotate the jungler and mid laner down, and because of the level discrepancy, you either have to lane swap or just completely sit everyone under that turret. The dive executes, the AD carry goes down, then they take Dragon, then it all just goes in.
You make it sound so easy.
Well, the thing is, this is, when I talk to all the teams, this is how they explain Mordekaiser to me. That's how they say, this is why he's banned all the time, because this is specifically what you do, and if you execute it and don't make mistakes, you can't do anything against it. But LGD clearly has other plans. Again, they don't ban Mordekaiser, and they are ready with this Brand pick, so I cannot wait to see it.
Let's see whether or not it is an effective counter. At level 1, PYL did take Conflagration, and at level 2 has put a point into Seer, so that stun opportunity will be up. And in contrast to H2K, when they ran Mordekaiser in their AD carry position, they did not run double Relic Shield. So this time we are seeing it.
Yeah, and just as a note with Brand, it's been so long since we've really seen him play that at level 2, he has a 2-second stun if he lands that skill shot. That is a long, long time for you to get CC'd so early on. So I like that we're seeing standard lanes. Imp and PYL, they've done it before. It's not very often, but they're just going to play straight up 2v2 and try and honestly just outclass TSM's bottom.
A lot of respect from both Wild Turtle and Lustboy, but you can see Wild Turtle takes a chunk there from PYL. He's going to try and farm up. Death Sentence does connect, and Lustboy goes in. That's an early flash away from PYL. Seer's going to connect. There's that 2-second stun. Imp is going to throw out
really early teleport.
That's double teleport.
Yeah, they're going to go in now. Now PYL's getting a move back. Dyrus moving in. down. LGD, though, they've already lost one. Last one! He's going to go in! 2 kills for TSM, but Imp gets the trade kill!
How much can he get back?
Wild Turtle now, maybe the next one.
Not over yet. We do see him trying to chase. Wild Turtle going to get some heal from that Harvester of Sorrows. 2-1 in the first fight.
As far as needing an advantage on your Mordekaiser to consistently shove the lane and get work done, that's about the best possible thing that could have happened for TSM. Lustboy lands a hook, PYL flashes. I think, honestly, he didn't need to use that flash early because Mordekaiser had not yet skilled Q and he just used his cooldowns on the minion wave. So PYL actually wasn't under threat, but because the flash was used, it prompted the teleport because then they knew he had no escape and they knew they could punish the play. So a misplay by PYL is punished properly by TSM.
And a second time, we're seeing those duo lanes being punished. Yesterday, Imp and PYL got ran around in circles.
No.
Santorin's caught!
Could be trouble there. Stuns landing. TBQ's going to keep slapping away. Santorin, he'll flash body slam away, but they will trade. LGD going to get a kill back.
That's the 2-second stun that Brand brings so early on into the game. They invaded the jungle after the long and drawn-out fight, and it was just not respected by Santorin because the bottom lane was shoved as well. That's one of those team calls you have to be heady enough to realize that the bottom lane is there. PYL will have been able to respawn. It's just a really smart play by TBQ and PYL to get into that spot and then specifically wait until Santorin went to face check.
So we'll see what TBQ can do with the additional gold. About the makings of an early sight stone. I'll not be too surprised to see that completed. Imp with his kill picked up that recurve bow. So going to be able to hop, skip, and jump away from those Mace of Spades from Wild Turtle.
Yeah, there's so many cool picks here that I'm going to spend a little bit longer talking about the intricacies. So one of the reasons support Brand is so good, especially this season, is because of Spell Thief's Edge. The way Spell Thief's Edge works is when you have a spell or basic attack against champion, it will deal 10 additional damage and grant 5 gold, and it can occur 3 times every 30 seconds. The thing with Brand's passive, though, is landing a single spell will use all 3 charges of that. So you're getting the additional damage as well as the additional gold every time you use it. It's the easiest champion to activate Spell Thief's Edge on, probably aside from Morgana, who can just put the puddle underneath, but it really adds a lot of extra damage and gold to that Brand.
Certainly helps that Brand's E is point and click as well. We did catch a brief glimpse of Dyrus being shoved in on that top lane. He's going toe-to-toe with Lulu. Lulu's been really successful at shutting down Darius's throughout the course of this group stage. But Dyrus has got pretty close farm. Actually going a little aggressively. Not going to throw out the apprehend though. And I want to see what Dyrus can do now that he's not been really put far behind early.
Yeah, very rarely we've seen Darius in a normal standard 1v1 lane situation. Lots of lane swaps punished him, but Acorn should be just fine here as well. I like the comparison here, honestly. We talked about Acorn not looking that comfortable in recent games. He's very comfortable on a low econ top laner like Lulu, where it can always make plays.
Yeah, and I'm really tracking the experience in this bottom lane, but also how it interacts with teleport timers. Specifically the Mordekaiser, who wants to be able to pressure the dive once he hits level 6 because he has a level advantage, may not be able to since Dyrus in the top lane doesn't have teleport and Acorn does. If that equalizes, then the level 6 jump that the Mordekaiser gets because he gets full experience in share situations is actually kind of negated. Obviously, TSM had a nice play to use the teleport early, but because Acorn chose not to match, it means the bottom lane is actually much safer for LGD.
Yeah, Lustboy just avoided that C-up from PYL. BQ is moving in. A lot of damage to follow up, but they've been human nonetheless. Bjergsen's already completed his Ionian Boots of Lucidity with Home Guard as well, and the teleport will be available very, very soon. So we could see one of those plays in the not-too-distant future, Jack.
I was going to say, I think we're going to see just like we got an earlier glimpse of what can happen when everyone teleports down to a lane and fight. Yeah. That's how we started the first little skirmish to get these first 3 kills. And given the teleports are coming back and home guards are getting finished early, blue buffs even transferring to mid laners now as well, we could see a lot of early 4v4 or 5v5s.
Yeah, I think the 4v4 and 5v5s are definitely what's going to happen. However, one of the core strengths of Mordekaiser and why he's been banned wasn't actually executed on TSM. The small window they had where Wild Turtle's level 6 and Imp was not, was actually used up by Santorin handing blue buff off to Bjergsen. They had half of their team on the other side of the map and lost the window.
So we're approaching 10 minutes into the game, and despite the fact TSM are 2 losses, in both of their previous games, their early to mid game was not terrible. It fell apart after that stage. So TSM actually averages a gold lead at 10 minutes. whereas LGD averages that deficit.
So far at Worlds.
So far at Worlds,
Yeah.
correct. In the last 2 games. It's a small sample size, still counts.
Yeah, well, it's one of the reasons that these teams are 0-2. They've obviously had their failings. LGD has been a little bit all over, pick and ban, some misplays in the game, and a lot of it just really on the shoulders of TBQ and Godvi not bringing up their end of the bargain. Imp and PYL have been playing generally well for LGD.
And I think LGD have done a smart thing here. Yes, Nunu's a pick we haven't seen in a long time, but it was another pick TBQ was relatively well known for in China. Oh my god, Godby, never mind. Diving onto Bjergsen. This is where the matchup can get tricky. Both mid laners have blue buff, but TSM just going to start Dragon instead.
They are, and somewhere, somehow, Deficio is talking about the Dragon. The ghost of Mordekaiser's Dragon, but there will be a challenge.
It's going to be a lot of damage, but they have the Dragon!
Oh, they've got him already! He's
Godby
down!
now could be in trouble. Good old back there. Gonna move Diana into the team. Moonfall's not enough. Turtle gets another kill.
Not only did they control the Dragon, but they get 2 kills afterwards. The siege potential of this Dragon, even against a full team, is strong. Now they have a full Dragon at level 9 and a 4-man push mid.
They're going to put so much damage on this tower. Actually will secure it. There is no wave clear around. The question is, what do TSM do with the rest of that Dragon timer? It's only 1,800 hit points now. We saw how quickly it can get focused down when it's tanking the turrets.
Yeah, I think the first Mordekaiser Dragon we saw was a little unspectacular, unfortunately, but that's a nice little move as Imp has been changing things up here. Runa's Hurricane first is a curious pickup.
That's normally something you build when you're really far ahead in lane. You'll go Hurricane first and not go for an early lifesteal option. But he is behind. It's definitely curious here. LGD is behind on a lot of different aspects right now. Honestly, PYL and the rest of LGD just lost control of the Dragon Pit. A little bit inexcusable because they were all grouped up for a big fight, but just no one activated on that team fight. You would expect LGD, a team that loves to team fight, would be able to collapse down there.
And Dragon's so important for both these teams. We look at Mordekaiser's Dragon, pretty much got TSM a turret there after they got a few kills, and LGD have Nunu and Kalista on their team, so they have incredible neutral objective control on both sides, so getting the Dragon first and getting it is very important early on.
And you see how TSM continues to use it with all of the gold sitting in Wild Turtle's back pocket. He has a 10-minute Rylai's Crystal Scepter. I think that is incredibly powerful against the limited attack damage that Imp is going to offer. Santorin does have that explosive cask set up, and I think he snuck into the lane unseen. So Imp and PYL, they step out of position. They might get bounced backwards, although, there we go. TSM just going to walk over and clear the pink wall.
Yeah, and another thing about these games where we have double teleport is once one team does get a foothold, it does kind of become a little easier to maintain, because any fight that happens, everyone can join, and the team that is ahead will generally do it, but LGD has the jump on it.
Oh, the Centurion, another good ulti, but Godfrey's trying to go around the side. He's actually caught now as Gragas, but Akon forced to use his ulti out. Godfrey looking around the back, and Akon, he's so low, but they're not going to get the kill. TBQ, nice ult. Centurion sneaks in there for a kill with his flash, and now Bjergsen's going to land the stun. Wild Turtle looking to chase.
Yeah, they've chased 1-for-1 thus far. Jungler down from Team SoloMid, but LGD backed away. You did see the ghost of Acorn getting more vision, but aggressive start. I think Acorn started to TP first.
Yeah, and massive burst from Wild Turtle onto Acorn when he got chunked down right there, basically killing him through an ultimate. Now he has the Ghost of Lulu, which isn't as terrifying as Kalista would be, but it still packs a little bit of a punch. Honestly, TP's burned, even trade, not that bad for LGD.
Not at all. Team SoloMid still continue to hold their 2,000 gold lead. They're doing a great job across the lanes, with the exception of Imp being up in CS. Even or advantage for Team SoloMid.
Looking very similar for LGD as well. Again, we've talked about Imp, he's looking strong, he's had a decent lane, although Mordekaiser looking to get a bit out of control perhaps, and once again LGD, who honestly were known for a very strong early game play, PYL roams, good strong laners, solid players across the board, backed up with good macro play. On paper this team was excellent, but the start so far in Worlds, and even the start in this game, has just not shown that.
And even before Worlds pastry, LGD was talking about all the pressure they're feeling because they were expected to roll over this very competitive group. And when your expectations are so much higher than your initial results, that adds even more pressure, an extra layer. And you have to wonder how LGD is responding to that. It doesn't look like they're responding to it very well.
No, definitely not. Yesterday's loss to KT Rolster threw LGD into just turmoil. They looked so destroyed on stage. It is only the third game of group stage. A win here and some surprise games next week could still help either of these teams. but we're a long way away from that. LGD, we touched on how they're usually down at 10 minutes. That gold lead accelerates. Their average in the last 2 games at 20 minutes is 3,400 gold down. So it falls apart, and it falls apart very quickly for LGD. In the small few games you've seen.
On the other end of the spectrum, TSM hasn't been able to take advantage of their small gold lead. So something will give in this match, and one of these teams will obviously pick up their first win of Worlds. TSM absolutely has the team composition to try and snowball a lead. Twisted Fate with Teleport. Every time the Dragon is up, they go there to force team fights, and they go take the Dragon to go and fight. The risk for TSM is if they get to late game without a big lead, and then the new Lulu brand starts kiting heavily the double Juggernaut setup of TSM.
I just want to see how they're going to handle all of the melee. On the side of Team SoloMid, you have to completely change how you take towers and how you pressure the map when you don't have a ranged AD carry to push towers down. Luckily, it looks like Sheen picked up for Bjergsen, so he may be able to apply some split push pressure.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's going to be a difficult task outside of winning convincing team fights. Well, 2,000 gold will help them.
Yeah, certainly will. And right now, it seems like TSM happy to sit in their lanes. Turtle and Lost Boy don't really need to go anywhere. Double Relic's going to help turn through. Dyrus is happy. He's just scaling up now as well. I think 5v5, especially as they scale, LGD's comp has a lot of good tools against these melees. You look at Nunu, you look at Brand, even just all the Kai potential with Lulu in there as well. There are so many different things. Even stuff like Brand's passive being good against big health targets is actually quite good in this situation.
I also want to see how Dyrus handles himself. He's finally been allowed to play some League of Legends. Got himself a good, healthy CS. Black Cleaver completed already. Just going to synergize with that bleed. A lot of damage over time. But look, both junglers in the area. TBQ stood right atop a ward, so Centauran will have information advantage. And Death Sentence going to go just a little short. This Dragon is live. So Team SoloMid showing a focus on Dragon, but double sweeping lanes in the same bush.
Both teams have rotated down. The synergy between Lustboy and Centauran still not as clean as they'd like it to be. They'd love to have that sweeper now. And LGD is looking to brawl in this Dragon Pit. This could be a big game-changing fight.
Certainly going to have to see what they can get done here. Lost Boy, though, now looking aggressive. Posturing with those boots of mobility. Hook does not land.
Godby is looking for a flank from behind. He's slow to the party, but because that hook did not land, it gives him time to catch up, and TSM has to be very careful they don't extend too far and open up their flank.
There is some vision deeper down the river for Team SoloMid, but LGD, they've started the Dragon. TSM want to challenge. Pierce connects from Imp, and TBQ's left in the pit. The Pyroclasm is available, not going to get used. Zero to Wild Turtle.
Good stun there, the ulti channel by TBQ as well. LGD just trying to fight Godby around the flank. Dragon will fall there as Godby's kiting away. Dyrus going to look for the dunk, but Godby moves back in over to Wild Turtle. Moonfall to buy some time. LGD needs to get back, but Bjergsen, he'll get the kill onto Godby, and now Godby's Ghost will chase down his team.
Yeah, we do see the Destiny and the Gate from Bjergsen. Going to look for Imp and TBQ. They're on the wrong side of the map, but the gold card has timed out. There's another one lined up. Going to connect onto Imp. Imp's in trouble. Flashes over the wall, uses the cleanse. TBQ will get focused down by one more gold card, and the wild card finds Imp as well. It is a rout, and TSM are wiping the floor with LGD.
LGD went all in on the team fight from behind. They actually start the Dragon, and while they could secure that, they lose the fight terribly.
Yeah, Akon's just going to get domed now. Bjergsen here, looking for the lock-on, gets the stun. Hook will land, Akon gets alley-ooped, and Dyrus gets the dunk.
A 5,000 gold lead for TSM 17 minutes into the game. This team looked so out of sorts in their first 2 matches, completely lacking team cohesion. But in this specific instance, if both teams set up for a team fight brawl, they're showing they can brawl.
And look, we've talked a lot about LGD's kind of failures early on in the group stage in Paris, but TSM finally back to their old place, it feels like.
Yeah, and PYL actually landed a really good ultimate at the start of this fight. It bounced in multiple different directions to Turtle. I guess it actually did die on Turtle, but he landed the stun. Then TBQ had a really terrible Nunu ultimate that didn't have any zone control, and LGD reaches for this fight because Godfrey was caught on one side, and Lustboy actually takes all of the aggro and doesn't die by the end of it. So that difference of a support getting focused versus the mid lane getting focused really changes the dynamic of this chase down, since now the damage threats are gone for LGD, and at this point they're just on the wrong side of the Dragon.
Yeah, just a lot of cleanup here as eventually they'll have a chase down here. But Chinese teams are known for strong fights around terrain. That's where their strong team fighting comes from. 2 excellent flashes from Bjergsen and Lost Boy effectively won them the back half of that fight.
Absolutely.
Exceptional play from Team SoloMid. They're going to take their 3rd tower of the game, accelerate that gold lead. They've got fan support on their side, but it looks like it's going to be a tower trade. LGD on the outer turret in the bottom lane, But TSM, they're knocking on the inner turret top.
Yeah. Well, we were also talking about how the teams would push the turrets, especially since TSM doesn't have a ranged AD. So as far as actually getting turrets down, trading turrets is one of the best ways for TSM to get them down, as long as they can accelerate the game and get to the next Dragon area. That's actually not that bad. They get the inner turret, LGD does not.
And just trades everywhere here, but TSM are the ones with the gold lead. And it's funny, I feel like when I was watching the NALCS and watching TSM play, their mid to late game seemed very good, and their early game maybe a little shaky despite the strength of their laners. This game, after what we've seen already from them in Paris, has been a huge change for them. This is a massive lead.
You know, what a disappointment from LGD. You look at those goal differences between the players, overall team goal. I mean, Wildturtle and Lustboy, they're just setting up to bonk someone on the head with that giant mace of spades.
Specifically from Godvi, like, what is happening with this guy? It's not like he was some bad mid laner in the LPL that was just for some reason overhyped. This guy was legitimately dominating people for the entirety of the year and earned the hype coming into this event, but he has just been completely underperforming.
Here we are, will get pulled out there. Imp's gonna throw himself out as Imp's trying to secure his own red. I don't even think he can do that at this point. TSM gonna take over the top left of the map.
Yeah, they will, but look at the bottom half of the map. Godv has found Dyrus.
Wow.
And that's just Dyrus out of position, really.
Yeah.
No vision and no support from his team.
LG doesn't even have to burn a single teleport for that. Slick play there by Godvi. He's going to split push mode now that he has Nashor's Tooth on Diana and will look to use his teleport to at least have some type of impact. That would be the beginning of him coming back into the game, because really, if they want to win, Godvi's got to pick up several more kills.
It's going to take such a long time, though. You've got a scaling Rod of Ages on Lulu top from Acorn. You've got not even a complete Blade of the Rune King yet for Imp. So I think there still needs to be a lot more arsenal packed into the LGD punch if they want to look to win these team fights. Wildturtle's almost got an hourglass completed already. I mean, it's a terrifying position to be in, as we've crashed to 20 minutes. So he has a replay, and that's just Dyrus.
Yeah, out of position.
He has wards behind him, but he has no wards in front of him. And this has actually been one of the Achilles heels of why TSM hasn't capitalized on some of their early game gold leads, is because their deep warding is just inadequate for what they're trying to accomplish on the map. That honestly falls heavily to Santorin and Lustboy, but it also falls to Dyrus for respecting the vision you have achieved, and he reached farther than they had achieved vision.
And especially the entire team of Team SoloMid is pushing the top half of the map. They're trying to set up for a death push, trying to set up with the vision control they had, and it didn't work out. PYL's support brand, needlessly large Rod, has been picked up.
He's trying to get something back.
Well, let's
Home guard
see.
TF.
Oh God, Bjergsen just rushing straight for it, but Akon's already away.
Fizzled, that one, we can say, but he's still got Destiny available. And again,
He'll be
using the vision on the top half of the map to try and make a play. Maybe suboptimal, but it's keeping pressure, it's keeping LGD down. I think that's crucial. LGD are not going to be able to push past their river safely for a very, very long time. I want to see TSM get better deep wards and then try to push down that last inner turret in the middle and bottom lane.
Yeah, TSM certainly have the arsenal to start fighting now. Lich Bane completed, Abyssal Scepter done, Rylo's almost as on his Black Cleaver now as well. Dyrus even going tankier to try and reinforce some of the fight potential his team has. On the other side for LGD, Acorn scaling with his rower, Nashor's is up, but Godby's still looking for a second. It's really just Imp that's got the two items. He's the big strength of this team now.
And I do have to mention that even though there's this large gold discrepancy, if it's not able to be capitalized on by TSM, LGD holds a late game team fight advantage. A nice hook to start this fight though.
TBQ's gonna flash the flay and get away. The body slam does connect. There's the ghost. It's gonna be a Children of the Grave onto Nunu. Absolute Zero does zero. Imp once again cleanses the death sentence, and LGD are backing away from the mid lane. Lustboy is playing a great Thresh this game.
He has landed hook after hook, and Lustboy was one of the main underperformers for TSM through the first two games, constantly being caught out of position, but this time he is landing the hook and the team is following up on his action. They're gonna try and push with this Nunu Ghost while leaving up the Dragon. They will actually want to take that later.
Another hook flash there, just gets pulled out by him. But TBQ's gonna keep taking it up, betraying his own team as TSM now 5 towers to 1.
Extending that gold lead. Dragon is available, but have TSM taken too much damage? We'll find out shortly. Teleport is available for Dyrus and both of them for LGD.
Yeah, they burned the Gragas ultimate and the Mordekaiser ultimate as well as taking that poke from him. They actually, because they decided to push with the Nunu, may forfeit this Dragon. We'll see if that's a call they regret. Looks like LGD gets this one pretty uncontested.
Bjergsen does have his ultimate, so if TSM want to try and fight, they can.
They could teleport in, actually. Bjergsen has been healed up. Dyrus is going. They're going to try and fight this one at their 7,000 gold advantage.
There's the ulti out. Lustboy looking for a hook. Finds Aiko, but the Dragon's already dead. Fight's going to break out. Santorin jumps in. Might be a little too soon, though, as TSM now going to ravage through the back. The first kill has happened. Bjergsen round the flank trying to get it. Dyrus, a double there as it's absolute chaos. The dunk goes down. TBQ dies. Yudruk from last point. A triple out for Dyrus. And TSM clean up LGD.
23 minutes and Ace a minion wave in the mid lane. What do they choose to do with this? Because they have every option open. TSM is turning this game into a rout.
There is a massive minion wave in the bottom lane. It looks like Dyrus and Wild Turtle are going to push that up. The rest of TSM are pushing through the middle lane. They're knocking on multiple turrets at the same time.
It's 2 dragon fights now that LGD have tried to take. They've gotten 2 dragons. Well done there. But they have lost the fight horribly every time. This time they will pay with their mid inhibitor turret as well. The inhibitor itself will stay, but for how much longer?
10,000 gold down. Let's see what Acorn and Godv can do. They're looking for TSM, who are split up. Dyrus is going to make it down to the bottom lane. Wild Turtle gets caught by the Glitterlons. So does Bjergsen. Here comes Godv. He's jumping in. The Lantern pulls Wild Turtle to safety, and Team SoloMid get out.
This is not just about the play, it's the continuation of the play. This is LGD's final desperation move. They burned both teleports to try and get a kill. They didn't get a kill, so they are doubling down and going for Baron. This is so risky.
All in now, LGD. Can you get it? If not, you're going to be so far behind. Bjergsen poking around. Santorin does have his smite ready. The Baron's fairly low. Imp's got so many spears in the back of the head. Santorin's been stunned. They will get it, but will they get punished for it? Santorin dives in onto TBQ. Godfrey gets knocked back. Tries to make it go back in. The wild growth pops in. LGD fighting to the death. First goal happens. Dyrus trying to duck in the middle. Imp with a double. Godfrey cleans up the third.
What a bold call by LGD. You have to have so much guts to go for that. Down 10,000 gold, and they force a Baron after a recall play. But TSM tried to stop it, and in doing so, make LGD's play even better. Obviously, TSM still has a big lead in this one, but LGD does stay in the game with that amazing call.
So crucial to get all that gold and now items for further fights. Here's a replay of Baron being secured and then TSM re-engaging with no ultimates, no mana.
Yeah, Dyrus missed the outer ring of his Q, which is so critical for Darius because if he gets one reset there, he triggers his Noxian Might and could go on a rampage. I'm not sure if his ult was still on cooldown. It actually was. Because he didn't get it in the fight. So he had his ultimate up for that fight. If he could have landed the first outer ring in that Q, maybe that's an entirely different fight. So rare do you see a team up 10,000 gold actually still be in danger of losing the game because it's now 4.
And I have to credit, honestly, some strong individual skill, like we mentioned for LGD. Acorn had some wicked sick geometry after that teleport to secure the slows and get to the Baron buff safely. And Imp, just watch how he's playing in these fights. He's an excellent Kalista player, but you can tell Imp wants this so badly.
It was 10,000, now 5,000, and the Baron stats and the Baron minions. LGD have now got the tools they need to claw back this lead. Look at the items that were picked up as well. Rylai's for PYL, Last Whisper for Imp, Hourglass, Aegis, like all of these spikes are now being hit by LGD.
I think the Rylai's is the most important one because if this gives them the ability to kite the double juggernauts of TSM, it could be game-changing. Obviously, we'll see what they can do with this Baron buff. I think they're already close to having one of the biggest Baron power plays we've seen here at Worlds. They could make this gargantuan.
Certainly could. And TSM trying to fight off these big Baron minions, but LGD have had a new lease on life after I think we used the word bold. That's very fitting with that Baron play. Still got plenty of ground to make up though.
And what is going on with this World Championship? All the results we heard from scrims coming into this was this team's looking weak, and then you'd get a conflicting report. Oh no, they're actually really strong. I think that's because everyone was beating everyone else, and the same is holding true within this World Championship. LGD pushing up mid, another hook.
TBQ gets caught, gets apprehended, but the body slam doesn't connect. Absolute Zero will zone Team SoloMid away, and LGD will be happy getting themselves another tower and a few crucial ultimates off of TSM's cooldown.
Yeah, trying to close that gap here. LGD get an important tower, honestly. 3 towers is a much improved over what they had before, and they finally got a bit more space around the map. Dragon will be back in a minute 30 as well. And from what we've seen already, Dragon's been a big fight point. LGD are actually the ones with 2 dragons, but TSM have won the last 2 dragon fights.
Yeah, every time LGD's actually gone to the dragon pit, it's been a disaster for them. They've been able to secure the dragons, however, and they actually might want to just do it again, despite the poor results they've had before, because they could have reached they may have reached the breaking point within their team composition. TSM's damage is starting to fall off the cliff. And Acorn now has a lot of tools, especially if they can catch Wild Turtle.
Let's find out. He's looking for the lantern, but he will not find it. And PYL and Imp, they get one of the most important keys from Team SoloMid. They're onto a tower as well.
If LGD can come back from 10,000 gold down, I don't know how TSM recovers for the rest of the group. They're up 10,000 gold, sub 25 minutes, and they are now in danger of losing the game.
Gap has closed a lot, only 4K up now for TSM, and that was like a full screen initiation from Kalista Brown. We didn't even touch on what they can do. Normally we see a support with Kalista, and there's a lot of synergy going on. Brand's a new one, but that was very stylish from the LGD bottom lane.
Plus 5,000 Baron power play. That is an exceptional amount of gold. And we just hit 30 minutes. What this game was looking to be a whitewash, a stomp from TSM in favor of LGD, has now turned into a, honestly, probably preferential LGD game.
Potentially, Mordekaiser's damage is going way downhill here. He's at AP damage, he doesn't have any magic penetration, he's itemized defensively. So TSM's ability to actually kill both Godby and Imp in these fights with shielding coming in from Lulu is not very high. So let's see LGD force this next fight with all 5 members.
Godby's going to join in. Santorin, way around the back. Imp going to get knocked himself away as Santorin has to get out. Acorn does ult himself as TBQ's looking for the zone. Imp gets the first kill. That should be enough. They'll keep chasing through. Acorn's going to run in for support. Wild Turtle pumps his zonies, but the damage is just massive. Imp tearing through the team.
They really are LGD. They are losing 1 or 2 though. They found Wild Turtle as well as Santorin. Dyrus will survive. The bleed will give Dyrus a double kill, and I think that was a gold card to find another 3 members of LGD down.
Bjergsen's not done. He's going to look for the ult. He does not commit. I think he's gone mid instead here. Does use something. Oh, now he is. Going to go in. Gets TBQ. Cuts off Acorn around the back. Dyrus is in the enemy
Dyrus just hit the inhibitor.
And then it's going to chase. There we go. Dyrus straight on the mid.
Inhibitor in the mid lane is going to go down, and look at the minion wave up top. Bjergsen has teleported to find Acorn. LGD are aced, and TSM are destroying their base.
What a crazy game this is. Every single time LGD goes to the Dragon Pit to fight, it has ended in disaster. That fight was so damn close. Everyone on LGD walked away with slivers of health, but because Bjergsen could save his ult and teleport, he cleaned up all the kills.
And so much credit to Bjergsen. We've talked about his Twisted Fate, been banned before this here in Paris. And the combination of strong mechanical play and insanely good map awareness to use 2 different global cooldowns to move around the map was superb.
And now this is exactly what TSM needs to do to continue closing out this game. They have super minions in the mid lane. They waited for Wild Turtle so he can mark the dragon. Now they have a 4,500 health dragon. They need to use that to go and take objectives. Because of the level on him, the dragon actually lasts an extended amount of time, so they can either go for a second inhibitor or save that dragon to take a Baron and then go for a push. They have their options open once again, thanks to that incredibly close dragon fight.
Super minions starting to pour through that middle lane. That will give a lot of options to Team SoloMid. Destiny's available for Bjergsen once more, and that banner of command that Last Boy's been using gonna add to the sieging power. We asked how you take towers. With Maud, you take a giant dragon to do it for you. That's gonna fall in the next few autos.
So clever as well from Last Boy. No cannon minion, so the next best choice, weirdly enough, is actually a caster creep.
Gold cards.
Trouble though for TVQ, gets himself hooked up, gonna move back into the team. The wild growth burn defensively. LGD will kite themselves away, but the dragon is just fighting them. Bjergsen will zone Acorn, and LGD will collapse.
6v5, not fair, bro. Acorn's gonna get taken out by Bjergsen as Imp throws a pierce on the back line. There's the super minions from mid as another inhibitor's going to fall. Team SoloMid got Dragon, Dragon's Ghost, and an inhib, all in one smooth play.
Yeah, it's a dragon power play right there from TSM.
New stat.
New stat in Mordekaiser games. What is the dragon power play? Huge for TSM. They had the 10,000 gold lead 10 minutes ago. It disappeared, and now it sits at 6. But most importantly, they have managed to get the sieges. LGD, though, we know they have a never say die attitude in these games. Their desperation moves are what kept them in this game. Expect them to continue to look for fights.
Well, we did see LGD moving towards the Baron Pit, but there was simply not enough safe vision. So they're going hesitantly, using those sentinels of Kalista to try provide more information. Team SoloMid grouped a little more effectively. They'll need deep wards if they want to go for the Baron and then the safe close of the game. But more warding needs to be done. And TSM actually just going to start setting that up.
And Baron is going to be very difficult for LGD to get anywhere close to. Acorn's busy in the bottom lane cleaning side waves. PYL's trying to get some vision, and you can see TBQ has the lens sweeping away looking for vision, but TSM going to move up, push the waves out, and just start a very difficult choice. You either fight us, you lose your top lane, or you lose the Baron, and they're all bad choices for LGD.
Yeah, it's also been remarkable how well Bjergsen has played this game.
So well.
Santorin has also had really good splitting ultimates to bring targets towards the Juggernauts, because that was such a struggle for TSM. Dyrus did an absurdly low amount of damage in his last Darius game to champions. It was like 1,700 or something as low as that. This game has been much different because the setup has come from Thresh, Twisted Fate, and Gragas.
And it helps when you've got TBQ sitting on the front line, eating death sentence after death sentence. It's the second game, this group stage, where TBQ's been cured out.
They're going
this
for
time
it.
The death sentence not going to hit.
Yeah, there's an ulti, but it knocks Acorn away. Bjergsen, massive damage! Legendary! Twisted Fate's going to clean out one. Now TBQ could be in trouble as the stuns are coming out at him. He's so angry, but he gets exhausted. He's trying to leap in. They won the fight. Huge AoE combo in. Got arrows in everybody now.
Now let's see Dyrus. He's in trouble. He gets taken down. Godby and him still alive. 2v3. They might clean this up. Oh! Wild Turtle gets him! Wild Turtle and Bjergsen! They may have just won the game! Pushing through the mid lane with the supers!
That could be enough here. There's only two left. Bjergsen does unbelievable amounts of damage. And to think coming into this World Championships, Imp, the defending world champion, could start his first week 0-3. LGD have so little time left now.
That is more games lost in groups this year than Imp lost at the entire World Championship last year. TSM take down LGD.
That's going to be it. LGD, another upset. And North America, one of their flagship team, picks up the most unexpected victory.
Unbelievable performance. Team SoloMid again show their early game is okay. They made that fantastic this game until the poor Baron call. And the game just swung. The chance deserved for that victory.
Absolutely, and you can see the strength of LGD fighting very hard in this game with an amazing turnaround to almost pull the game back. But TSM keep everything cool. That man there, Bjergsen, made some unbelievable plays, and TSM pick up their first win against the most unlikely opponent.
Yeah, strengths and weaknesses being shown in this game too. Like, those team fights were so incredibly close, but LGD's willingness to take every single fight because they are so confident in their ability to out-mechanic and win those fights led to some disastrous occasions.
Yeah.
They died 27 times there to a team that has obviously Twisted Fate and Gragas, but with two Juggernauts, kind of needs you to walk into them to fight, and then they're in their wheelhouse. That last fight in particular, I can't wait to see it again, because I think the Callista actually got hit by Q3 from Mordekaiser, and that's where the giant burst of damage came in, because during the Zonias, he was trying to stay close, and he just lost count. 1, 2, 3 with all the other things going on, and that Q3 at that rank for Mordekaiser does something like 1,100 damage.
It's ridiculous. And while Turtle shows up, I think Bjergsen really carried hard, involved in 24 of his team's 27 kills.
He just carried ridiculously hard.
Exceptional performance. Just as a note, the bloodiest game that we've had at Worlds was 41 kills between Fnatic and HQ. That was equaled by this TSM LGD game.
The last two games we've had.
It's
Worlds is heating
mind-boggling.
up.
It's mind-boggling, but I also, you have to now question the Dragon fights from LGD. They lost so much after each and every fight. Why? Yes, you can be confident in your abilities, but you need to have some restraint.
I mean, Mordekaiser, man. Like, you want it, you have to contest for Mordekaiser's Dragon. We talk about it that, hey, when teams get it, it's just a very simple play pattern to get yourself ahead. LGD had a plan. Nunu, Callista, go fight a Dragon. And they got the Dragon, but that's about it.
Yeah, it got the Dragon and then all of their lives. That was the cost.
You know, you talk about the Nunu in the jungle. I also think you can talk a little bit about Imp's itemization. First item, Hurricane, with a Blood Boil Nunu on your team. Had there been more damage, had it been a Blade of the Ruined King, you know, how much more damage could those fights, could he have put out during a fight? I mean, it's all ifs and whens, of course, but I'm just not sure. I mean, let's talk about Brand really quickly.
Yep.
Final review, what do you think? Because you were so excited, Jets.
If you play it better, I think it has great uses, but PYL was almost over-relying on Imp to throw him out of the fight, and they constantly had to burn that cooldown to get him to safety, because I actually want to check the actual damage dealt to champions. I feel like Brand did a lot during that game, even with how poor he was performing. He actually did more damage than Mordekaiser, but that's a different... It wasn't enough to win, so that's it.
Well, Team SoloMid, they do get a win on the board. We're going to head to Shox on stage to have a chat about that victory.
Thank you very much, guys. I'm joined here by Bjergsen from TSM after beating out LGD. Congratulations. What a game when it was absolutely crunch time for you guys, with some weird picks as well. Tell me first and most about the aggressiveness that you guys displayed, which is very un-TSM-like, if you allow me to say it. What spawned that?
Well, when you're 0-2 in a group, and after today, we go back to practicing. So if we lose another game, people are going to feel discouraged. So it was like, right now was just all in, you know? We had to win this game if we wanted to get the confidence back, to get better in practice, to come in next week and just feel like we have a chance to come out of this group. So I feel like everyone thought this win was really important. Then we got the Mordekaiser and TF combo, which just allows you to be aggressive. It allows you to push up, look for dives, look for constant plays, and just when we see a comp like that and it's like all in, then we're going to play aggressive, and that's what we needed to do.
And you guys amassed almost a 10K gold lead in the mid game, and then that Baron happened. I can only imagine what that might have done maybe in the comms. Can you explain?
We just oversaved for the mid tower, and we just got a little bit greedy. We could have slowed down the game a little bit, and we could have just playing a little bit safer, but we took the risk of pushing mid and ended up giving them the Baron. But I think we all felt pretty comfortable because we had a pretty big lead even with them having Baron. So we were just like, all right, guys, just take it slow. We made a mistake. It happens, but we're still going to win the game.
And you guys did win the game. It's incredibly important. Before the game, you guys were two teams, in my opinion, on the brink of kind of breaking under the pressure of maybe the World Championship. 0-2, both of you. How did you try and use that to your advantage, knowing that they were also in that same situation?
Well, it does feel good because it gives us more confidence when we're both not doing as good. We're like, all right, guys, anything can happen in any of these games. And I feel like all the teams at Worlds are actually extremely close. We see teams taking up games from pretty much any team at this point. And I think that also gives us confidence that we can take a game off of anyone right now.
One game off of anyone. Any further predictions for you guys as advancement in this group?
Well, I'd like to get out of group. I think the group is looking really strong, and we're going to have to step up our play a lot for next week. But hopefully we can. That's all I can say. I want to get out of groups.
Well, Bjergsen wants to get out of groups, and he made a definite statement in this game to make that happen. Thank you so much. Congratulations. And guys, take it away.
Thank you, Shocks. Guys, as a quick shot mentioned going into that game, 19 games, 19 unique champions picked in the mid lane. Crumbs, you said maybe these teams would play it safe going into these games. And then we have a champion select like the one we did. I'm not sure they yielded your advice there.
I want to know how long the queue time was to get into this kind of match, because it was quite a particular game.
You know the analogy or the metaphor I made for my World's Pick'em?
Of a big
dumpster inferno of nothingness. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. When you look at LGD coming into this tournament, most people would have put them in the top 3 teams. On paper, top 3 teams for the entire tournament. Had number 1 seed for the pick'em. They're now sitting solidly at the bottom of this group, 0-3. I mean, it's a baffling thing that I want to try and dissect here. Let's start with Pix and Ban, though, because we saw this brand support come out, we saw the Diana come out, and that was with them on red side, leaving Mordekaiser up. So there had to have been a pretty good idea that the Mordekaiser pick was going to come through on the side of TSM.
You know, this gives some hope to TSM into the way that they should be taking drafts. Pick 3 melee champions that are always going to be soaking up damage so that Bjergsen can be left untouched in the backline and can carry. The damage that he did was equal to Mordekaiser, Darius, and Thresh combined, which is insane, to be honest. Like, that's more than 3 of your other teammates.
Well, I mean, and that, to take the damage into consideration, too, obviously Bjergsen had a very good performance in that game and really did carry the team. But people are going to be wondering about what's this brand about, right? Well, as it happens, if you're going to start kiting the Darius and some of these melee picks, well, if you get that Riley's on Brand, he actually does a lot of damage. Brand did more damage than either Mordekaiser or Darius in this game. Brand, support Brand.
I have to add, like, on a more serious note, it's like, I feel the trade-off, Mordekaiser into Lulu Kalista, is a really good trade-off in favor of LGD, because on paper, they have a team composition that is really good against these juggernauts, and still, like, that first dragon was just catastrophic.
Does the Diana pick then somewhat contradict the idea that you want to kite these juggernauts?
I think the Diana pick was fine because you're trying to play around the Twisted Fate with the teleport and you're trying to go into the bottom lane. Again, I think most of this game was a lack of coordination on LGD's part because the composition itself is it's fine. It's fine. It's just that when you walk into Dragon one by one and just start feeding, that you have an issue.
You know, what we expected from LGD was the boldness and coordination from the play that they had when they made that comeback Baron. TP, okay, let's do something together and try to get something out of this game. That's what we thought we'd see throughout the entire tournament, through all their games. One play in 3 games is the only hope we've seen from LGD from the expectations that we had of them so far. And that's not enough to really get them out of groups.
And we know they can do it. Now, to TSM's credit, one of the best plays was the Dyrus' TP into that bottom lane, because one of the things we've been criticizing TSM about is do something, just anything before 20 minutes.
Being proactive.
But they were very proactive here, and that really helped out, getting that early kill. Dyrus was the faster one on the teleport. But also LGD, they're known as a team that's very coordinated around using 2 teleports, and I don't know what's happened to them, but apparently Godv and Acorn cannot push their teleport keys at the same time anymore.
Yamato, I think it is safe to turn a critical eye on both of these teams here. Even though this was a win for TSM, it wasn't clean. We saw a 10K up. A majority of teams in this competition with that kind of gold lead would be able to cleanly close out the game. And as you mentioned, Crumbs, there was that Baron blunder where they handed 5K gold back, and it became a much closer game again. So when we look at this game, and as we look going forward, TSM, what is it about their mid-game there where they seem to be making some interesting errors?
Well, there was that one mistake where they pushed up mid too far. But it's also like the way they draft, I thought it was very, very risky because, like, even though the draft was not really relevant in this game because it was this full Clown Fiesta in a way, the thing is, they draft very risky. The Darius into the Kalista, and then they just overstay in the mid, turned into a Baron, and I was scared that they would have just lost the game there. But then Akon got caught.
Well, I disagree. I don't think the draft was necessarily risky. I think the only really big criticism about it was the Darius, and that's just something that's been built up throughout the tournament as not a very effective pick. But I think it's a great win for them because they're not playing anymore this week. It's a boost to confidence, and it's really what they needed to see how the team can operate and if they can really be aggressive in this stage, and it shows that they can. So I think it's a big step forward for them if they want to get out of groups. The difficult part being is the team that loses the next match between KT and Origin is going to have to be the team that they need to beat.
All right, well, earlier we asked what has surprised you the most so far at Worlds, and Mad Piero tweeted, I was hoping to be overwhelmed by the Chinese team's superiority, and I'm not even whelmed right now. What is this?
No one is whelmed. And let's take that. So the Chinese teams, people seem to be forgetting that EDG is doing just fine, right?
That is true.
Sure, they lost to SKT, but they made that mistake around the early Dragon Call. It's something that they can alter relatively quickly. I don't think we're going to see that same error again. And otherwise, EDGs look just fine. I still think they're a favorite to make finals.
All right, one final thing. As this is the end of week 1, these teams do have a few days to regroup. And as much as it may be an uphill battle for LGD and TSM being 1-2 and 0-3, what needs to happen in this next 3 days to regroup and come back looking stronger next week?
I feel like in LGD's case, I think they just need to find themselves again.
I think it's too late.
I think it's too late.
Yeah.
With the
Which is a fair assessment.
With the 0-3, I agree it's too late. But if they want to take some kind of victories, then I feel they need to start playing to the strengths again. They need to, like, play these matchups that are where they kind of pressured the matchups. It's, for example, the Diana, I liked it. It came back. Good. The Acorn on Lulu, I want to see on something that can snowball the matchup. Gnar, something he's split push. That's what I want to see from LGD.
From TSM, I think we need to just see more decisive and late game playmaking. Sure, their early game was looking strong right there. They capitalized on LGD's errors, but then we saw people getting caught out time and time again, and that's exactly what happened to them in their match versus KT. And interestingly, with how strong Bjergsen and Darius were, they could have feasibly set up some sort of 1-3-1 split push. And constant pressure on all 3 lanes is key to using Mordekaiser. But when they get picked off, they just can't do that. So there's a lot of flaws in TSM's late game play.
All right, well, they've got some time to regroup. Our next teams don't have too much, though. We need to step away as we gear up for our next fight in Group D between Korea's KT Rolster and Europe's own Origin. Don't touch that browser. We'll be right back.
Yo, Darius, make some calls so I can listen.
I'm TB. I'm flashing.
Alright, I got it.
Did you hear him flashing or?
Yeah, I heard the flash.
I'm dead.
There will be a challenge.
It's going to be a lot of damage, but they have the dragon.
Oh, they've got him already. He's down.
now could be in trouble. Good, back that. Gonna move Diana into the team.
I'm on Diana.
Diana. Kill him. Brand, Nunu.
I'm coming in. No. I'm on Kelly. I'm on Kelly. You can do ban.
LGD fighting to the death. First goal happens. Dyrus trying to duck in the middle. In with a double. Godby cleans up the third. They'll keep chasing through. Akon's going to run in for support. Wild Total pops his zonies, but the damage is just massive. Imp tearing through the team.
Now let's see Dyrus. He's in trouble. He gets taken down. Godby and Imp still alive. 2v3. They might clean this up. Oh! Wild Total gets it.
TSM take down LGD.